Has everyone been able to see the recordings that I posted on the Meetup info? I'm beginning to post YouTube links there, so you guys would be able to look at those. Perfect. Cool. So I'll get you guys a cleaner version of this slide deck. I was trying to get it into RPubs, and it just ended up not really formatting things correctly. So we'll just use this for now, and I'll get a cleaner version up posted shortly. So here we'll just go through. We'll mainly spend this lecture going through last week's homework, and we'll talk about what we have. If anyone has any questions regarding next week's assignment. Um, and basically these two modules, and then as we get into Python, that's also sort of your more kind of standard way that you would be operating in either R or Python, kind of in an exploratory way, looking at using libraries such as ggplot or matplotlib and other visualization libraries once we get to Python. And just in terms of what else is going to be coming after this assignment, we're going to be getting into Shiny, which is sort of interactive visualizations with R. So that's beginning to get into building browser-based interactive visualizations. And then we have Python, and then we really get into starting D3 and the sorts of tools that you would be able to use for your final project. And I will post more information on your final projects for anyone who wants to get an early start. I'll post a link as well to the previous instructor of this course. He has sort of a gallery of previous assignments. So you would be able to look through what students have posted there. You have a month until until you have to submit the proposal. So we do still have time. You do still have time to think about that. And I am going to be pretty open-ended in terms of what I'm looking for. So I would sort of use this time now, just try to think about what sorts of data you would like to use, what sorts of, if there are any, data sets that you're interested in, feel free to, send me an email if you have any questions about whether or not it would be a good subject for a final project. But until we get to that point, and this week I'll post some more info about the exact guidelines. But like I said, it's fairly open-ended, and you'll have a lot of leeway there. So, any questions before we get started? All right, so we'll just get started going over last week's homework. I think everyone did a really good job with this week's homework. As you could see with these assignments, part of the assignment is learning how to use the library in the in the environment that we're working in. But part of it is also just thinking about how to how to sort of take a question and answer it using a visualization. So sort of beginning to get a sense of what sorts of visualizations work for certain kinds of questions. And so we'll talk through a couple of strategies of how to first of all, with this homework, like what I was looking for these questions, and just general strategies that'll help you out with these sorts of assignments going forward. So with that, we'll walk through this. So this is just going through a couple of, oops, sorry, I just had one. So were you, Angus, were you not able to see the video on YouTube? So I thought I made that, you should see one, not the meetup video. Okay, so you see the big viz video. There was something weird, like I haven't used YouTube that much, and I thought I made it public, so I think I think I just have to change the permissions on it. Um, but so thanks for letting me know that you weren't able to see that, Angus, and I'll make sure that that gets the correct permissions. But it should just be public, and clicking on that link should bring you there. So I'll investigate that. But at least you guys were able to see the Big Viz video, so you had some context for this week's homework. Yeah, I'm guessing it's permissions because I'm able to see it, and I think I might have made it private or something. But it's not linked to CUNY SPS emails or anything. But thanks for bringing this up, and I'll investigate that. So so with that, in terms of just going over this homework, this is just gathering the data. So just reading it in from GitHub, and just investigate. Beginning to investigate the data here. So the first thing that I mentioned in the questions, and this is just kind of general, things that you want to think about when you're visualizing data, is making sure that, like for this, it was more explicit, just removing the null values, and everyone was able to use this. But in general, when you're looking at, when you have a data set and you're beginning to inspect it, this is the one of the first things to really look at. If anyone is if anyone has seen talks by Hadley Wickham and are sort of familiar with kind of I don't know if it's informal or I think it's kind of becoming formal now, but being called the tidyverse, the sort of environment of tools that Hadley Wickham has created. He sort of frames it in terms of tidy data. So the way that you could view something like this is you have a data frame, you have each row representing a case, and tidy data is about really making sure that all of your cases are complete. So you don't have if you have if you're looking at two variables, for example, they're both categorical. You have three categories for each of them. So for sort of a simple example like that, can anyone guess how many cases we should have? If it were to be a complete and tidy data set? Nope, not. If we have two variables and they each have three categories, then it shouldn't be three, but anyone else want to take a stab? If it were one variable, we would have three cases. Yep, that's correct. So, that's a fairly simple use case where you have, two categorical variables and you're making sure that everything is complete. But it's just, you're multiplying the number of possibilities to make sure that that's all complete. So that's what we were looking for. What we were looking for here. And in terms of the first question, where we're just looking at counts of companies by state, this is really fairly straightforward. I think everyone got this. Got something like looking like this, where you're just looking at a bar chart. That's the best way to show something like this, where you're looking for essentially a summary of the data set. So that's just grouping by state, and you'll see I actually changed a few of these to dplyr. If dplyr was kind of made to replace plyr. Plyr is a bit more full functional, so there are a lot of things that you could do with plyr that you can't do with dplyr. But something like this, it could you would be able to group by state, and so in dplyr language, you would be able to group by state and then just simply summarize with the count. Cool. So this one was very straightforward. And then the other feature, which again, everyone seemed to be able to do, was just being able to think about what format you're looking at the data in. So in this case, a vertical, a horizontal bar chart rather is better for a vertical layout. And I do apologize for the once again for the rendering here. I'll make sure to get all this straightened out when I post these, but I just wanted an easier way in browser to display these. Valerie, I would just be, but also that's just that's really kind of my preference. Is I like being able to use something like dplyr to work with the data and then bring it into ggplot. And honestly, just from my experience in using Plotly, I found that helped as well. So that's sort of more of a so that's kind of just what I prefer. I wouldn't say one is better than the other. It just depends on what you're looking to do. One thing I will mention is, and we'll get into this when we're talking about next week's homework, is uh, that answer might change, or the answer meaning like it doesn't really matter, might change when you're dealing with things like binning data, and there may be cases when you want to, um, uh, either you want to do the binning externally, which is basically what BigViz is doing. It's sort of a way of taking a large data set and doing the binning before you bring it into a graphing library. Or you might want to just like the binning might just be sort of uh, informed by the visualization itself. So if you're looking at a histogram, usually you just have your counts and you do the summary within ggplot. So that's the only caveat I would add there. So cool. So we'll just continue here. So in terms of and then so here we're looking at this is just what comes out when you're when you just put the data in, and it's in default order, so alphabetical. But especially for most of the time when you're looking at a bar chart, it's and you have categorical variables on your on your you're dealing with categories rather than looking at a bar chart over time. It makes sense to sort of change the order so that you are able to more directly compare them. And if you're just thinking about something like this, it's if you're looking at Virginia versus Florida, this gives you a clue of Virginia has more companies than Florida. Whereas if these two bars were further away, you wouldn't really be able to see that as clearly. And most people looking when they did their homework were able to use something like this. So it seems like that was something that everyone sensed made the visualization better. So this is getting into the second question. So New York is the number 3 state, and this right here, this is sort of uh, one of the easiest ways to kind of just look at in an exploratory way, look at the different industries within a state. So when in doubt, a scatter plot is pretty uh, it's pretty functional. It allows you to see the see kind of get an idea of the distribution within different industries. One of the things that that some people lost points on for this question was one of the key points in this was to get an idea of the distribution of companies, the distribution of counts, of companies, within industry. Um, so here we're looking at number of employees by industry. Um, each one of the we still have each company being a data point. So for something like if you pick any one of these industries, you'll have multiple companies. Each one of them have different numbers of employees, and what uh, by asking for some information about the distribution, we're not just looking for kind of a summary, either average number of employees or total number of employees. But something like this is uh, one of the simplest ways to probably the simplest way look at to look at the distribution. So this is kind of one of the most simplest ways, but what a lot of people ended up doing. And then another question that was asked for the homework, how do you deal with outliers? So here, you could just see by the scaling, and if we saw the full data set, you would see, I forget which industry it is, but there's a couple of companies that just have a very large number of employees. And the question becomes, how do you deal with something like that visually? Because when you're creating a graph like this, you end up losing information about really what's most important in uh, that a user would want to see. So a viewer would want to see the these distributions, and you know they would be interested to know that there's a company with a large number of employees sitting out here, but they wouldn't want to lose the information about what's happening in this zone. So there's a few ways of dealing with something like this. You could make a note of something like this. So you could pick an x-axis limit, say that you're cutting it off at a specific value, and then annotate your outliers. That's one solution. And you could also think about what you might be interested in. So a couple of people, I found it very interesting that there were some creative attempts to show both the mean and the median. And that's one of the questions that was asked here. Like, are you more interested in the median? Are you more interested in the mean? And that's really informed by the type of data that you're looking at. So the one thing just to keep in mind is when you are choosing between the mean or the median, median is less likely to be thrown off by a large outlier. So if you have a large outlier, and you see this a lot in things like income stats, where you have you have outliers that the value of that outlier can skew the mean, but it won't skew the median because